The Saints played their first home opener last season, also in Week 3, also on a Monday. Circumstances were certainly much different. Hey, how are you, folks? Jason Horwitz and NFL.com's Pat Kerwin with you on the NFL Preview Show, breaking down the 1-1 Titans, the 0-2 Saints. Last year, it was the first home game at the Superdome following Hurricane Katrina. The team came in 2-0, not 0-2, so certainly different circumstances here. Let's talk about the Saints, because offensively they're struggling and defensively they're just woeful. But let's start with the offense.
Sure.
What are they doing so wrong?
Well, I don't think they have any vertical threats. And I watched the tape of the Tampa game, and you don't see any threats down the field. And we all like Marquise Colston, but if you look at Colston and understand, he's a Keyshawn Johnson-type receiver, big threat inside, not afraid to work inside the hash marks. They don't have the player down the field, and Joe Horn wasn't the answer. But everybody, and Tampa's a great example, plays them in a soft cover, keep the whole football team in front of them because they don't feel like anyone get behind them.
Well, they went with a first-round wide receiver in Robert Meacham, but the injury, he hasn't been able to do anything.
A great point there. Robert Meacham's a first-round pick. First-round picks got to play. I'm not talking about quarterbacks. I'm talking about everyone else. They line up and they got to play. Meacham's not ready to go. And so when Sean Payton says things like, well, Meacham can't break into the lineup, that says more about what Meacham's not able to do right now. They need a vertical threat on the field. They don't have one.
It's possible they should have gone after a defensive player, because this team has given up 11 plays of 20 yards or more in the first two games. But this is a different game plan. You're not playing Tampa Bay here, and you're not playing Indianapolis with a quarterback that's not going to move. You're playing Vince Young. How do you scheme for that?
Well, a couple things that you got to see when you watch the Titans right now. They are back to the hardball running game that they had with Eddie George. They're committed to it. They're going to run the ball a lot in this game, and they've been successful so far. Then you have the running element of Vince Young. And when you look at Vince Young, he's 7-2 in his last 9 games. And the unique part of those wins, and in fact, all the games, is he's averaging 56 yards a game rushing in those 9 games. You got to deal with that dimension of this game. It's Monday night under the lights. He's a big-time player. I won't ever forget the game he had at Texas for the national championship. I expect him to come into that stadium and have 60, 70 yards rushing to go along with the old Eddie George power running game with Lendell White and Chris.
And that was the last night game he played that wasn't a preseason game, so he's going to be ready for the lights. He always was good under the spotlight in college, and of course this is in college, but he's always been good so far when the pressure was on. Let's talk about the Titans' defense, though, because they've certainly turned things around as well. One of the worst defenses last year. They're stopping the run, so that means maybe a little less Deuce McAllister, not necessarily as good against the pass, but that's because they're stopping the run so well. What do you like so much about this defense?
Well, I like what Albert Hainsworth is doing inside, and he is playing like a man possessed. And they moved Kyle Vandenbosch. It's pretty critical. They moved him over to his side. Now you've got these two guys working in tandem. They're producing numbers. They're producing all kinds of. They can collapse a pocket. They can stop a running game. That part of this game I like. And the one thing about Tennessee, when you watch it, and I've been on the field with these guys, they have been forever one of the most physical teams in football. It's like they practice physically. They go out in pads. Their head coach, the defensive guy, they will come and they're going to punch this team right in their mouth when they play them in the Superdome.
And that defensive-minded coach that you're talking about, Jeff Fisher, just earned himself a contract extension as well. All right, it's time to bring in the AccuScore prediction, which doesn't take that into account. All mathematical elements here, no human element whatsoever. It plays the game 10,000 times, spits out 10,000 results. And here's what it came up with for the Monday Nighter. The computer said the Saints won 64% of the time with an average score of about 25-20. Obviously, that's just the average score. It's tough to score 25 in the NFL. But, Pat, you agree?
I do not agree with that. I think that the Tennessee Titans are primed to make this their midseason Super Bowl, if you will. They don't get a lot of Monday night or Sunday night appearances, and they're taking full advantage of this. I've talked to Jeff Fisher and a couple of their players, Vandenbosch. They're very excited about this opportunity. They're going into the Saints. The Saints don't have that emotional edge they had last year. You said it in the open. When they played that opener last year, it was tears and crying and a lot of people, a lot of things bigger than a football game at stake in that stadium. Some of those things are not gone because Katrina had left a lot of devastation, but the football team doesn't appear to me to be playing with the emotional state they had last year. I like the Tennessee Titans to go in there with Vince in the running game and get this done.
Real quickly, if that happens and the Saints are 0-3, are their playoff chances out the window?
No. Not in the NFC. If it was the AFC, I would have said goodbye, but it's the NFC, and this thing is up for grabs all the way through to Thanksgiving before we can really figure out who's getting in, and don't be surprised if an 8-8 team gets in.
And it happened last year with the New York Giants. All right, folks, that wraps up the NFL preview show here on CBSSports.com. But for the rest of Week 3, don't forget to check out everything on the CBS Audience Network. For Pat Kerwin, I'm Jason Horwitz. Take care.